Hello, RotoBallers. I'm Donnelly, and this is your fantasy football starts and sits for week number 10 at the quarterback position. This video is being recorded on Monday, so plenty can still happen between now and Sunday's kickoffs. So check out RotoBaller.com and the RotoBaller Discord channel for all the latest fantasy football news. Now let's get into these starts and sits, starting with Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Coming off the bye week, Goff should have the entire band back together, and this includes David Montgomery. While Montgomery was away, Jahmyr Gibbs became the back that we hoped that he would become. So now the Lions, they have two high-end backs ready to roll down the stretch. And in this contest against the Chargers, a Chargers unit that is allowing a league-high 297.4 passing yards per game, that is going to give them multiple things that they have to consider here. With all that yardage, the Chargers have also surrendered fantasy points at a higher clip to quarterbacks than any other team, allowing 22 fantasy points per contest. I'd expect that the Lions' threat to run the ball, along with the Chargers' poor pass defense, while factoring Jared Goff's deep ball completion rate of 57.1%, that Goff and company should be able to put up well over 300 passing yards, possibly before the third quarter even comes to a conclusion. Another quarterback you have to start this week is CJ Stout against the Cincinnati Bengals. Two former Buckeyes face off this week, and we really should expect fireworks. Stroud put the NFL on notice that he is a must-start quarterback the rest of the season after going 30 of 42 for an NFL rookie record, 470 passing yards, and yes, five passing touchdowns against the Buccaneers. His 147.8 passer rating is the highest single-game passer rating by a rookie quarterback in NFL history. In fact, only 6 quarterbacks have thrown for more than 470 yards in their careers that are currently active. Stroud, he's going to need to step up and be at his best this week against Joe Burrow, because this is going to be one of those what you can do, I can do better type performances, because we saw what Baker Mayfield did against his Texans secondary, completing 70% of his passes. Joe Burrow, he is at his best he's been all season right now. Stroud is averaging more passing yards per game this season than Joe Burrow, not to mention Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. Another start this week, and this one's weird for me, it's Gino Smith versus Washington. I mean, we're going deep here, I get it. Smith, though, he faces a Commanders team that traded away their two best pass rushers in Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and they've allowed quarterbacks to average over 20 fantasy points per game this season. Not to mention, they have surrendered the second most passing yards, and they are tied with the most passing touchdowns yielded. This game came at just the right time for fantasy managers, considering the growing concerns about Smith's turnovers. Yes, 8 of them in the last 4 contests. And most of those managers, they've been heading to the waiver wire much of the season. Now, Smith will once again look to bounce back after another poor performance against Baltimore this week, but he does provide fantasy managers who are without Patrick Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, or Jalen Hurts with an option here in Week 10. Now for your sits, it's DeShaun Watson versus the Baltimore Ravens defense. This defense is as good as any defense in the NFL right now. The Ravens, they rank inside the top 7 in rushing yards allowed per game and passing yards allowed per game. Over the last 4 weeks, Baltimore is allowing just 6.86 fantasy points on a per game basis to the quarterback position. Baltimore, they also held Gino Smith to just 157 passing yards, and Smith, he has some good weapons to his credit here. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Watson, he has been good throwing the ball as of late, completing 73% of his passes for 508 yards, and he's also posted a 115.45 passer rating. But those numbers, they can be a little bit deceiving, as those games came against both the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals, who are not going to be confused with an elite defense. This is going to be a great test to see if Watson is indeed back. Personally, I'm not trusting him, and I'm out. Maybe he's not a full sit this week. Maybe he's more of a fade or a temper your expectations, but it's Lamar Jackson versus this Cleveland Browns. We're going to stick with this game because this divisional showdown has 2 of the best teams in the league on the defensive side of the ball. We know that the Browns and the Ravens rank first and second in passing yards allowed per game. And Cleveland, they're allowing just 145 passing yards per contest. As good as Jackson is, and he has been good, he leads the NFL in completion percentage and quarterback rushing yards. But this Browns defense, has a good up front as any out there. I talked about how good this Ravens team was, being top 7 defense against the run and the pass. Well, guess what? The Browns have been one spot ahead of the Ravens in both of those categories. So we're going to have to go back to week number 4 when we saw this contest go down and we've seen what Jackson was able to do. Now, Watson, he wasn't available, and Jackson, he did throw for 186 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns passing. He also had 2 touchdowns rushing. So he has an opportunity to still be productive, but I have a feeling that Cleveland is going to be seeking redemption in this one. And finally, sit Sam Howell versus the Seattle Seahawks. This Seahawks defense has been getting better and better as the season has gone on. Over the last 3 weeks, Seattle is allowing just 189.7 passing yards per game, and that is the 8th fewest over that time period. Over the last 4 weeks, they are allowing less than 14 fantasy points to the quarterback position. That is the 9th fewest, while allowing just 3 passing touchdowns, while picking off opposing signal callers on 3 separate occasions. Now, despite the Seahawks allowing 37 points to the Ravens last week, they did hold Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley to just 225 passing yards and just a single passing touchdown. Now, Howell, to his credit, he was solid against the Patriots, throwing for 325 yards and a touchdown. But the duo of Woolen there and Witherspoon could force Washington to run the ball more than they would like to this week. Once again, here are your fantasy starts and sits blitz at the quarterback position. Start Jared Goff versus the Chargers, who are allowing nearly 300 yards per game passing. Goff, he's likely to have all his weapons back for this one. Start CJ Stroud versus the Bengals. Only Cousins and Tagovailoa average more passing yards per game than Stroud has this season. Expect a shootout in Cincy this weekend. Gino Smith, start him. He gets a get-right type game against the Commanders team that traded their 2 best pass rushers and a secondary that has allowed more passing touchdowns than any other team. Sit DeShaun Watson and Lamar Jackson this week in that AFC North matchup. Not only involves 2 great quarterbacks, but 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. Ravens, they lead the NFL in sacks, and the Browns, they haven't forgotten about that Week 4 contest. Finally, sit Sam Howell, who is playing against the Seattle defense that has improved throughout the season, including the 8th fewest passing yards allowed per game over the last 3 weeks. Be sure to like and subscribe our RotoBaller YouTube channel for plenty more fantasy football analysis.